The Ghost of Red Moon, A Tale of Fire and Fury. August 22, 1868. The sky over Kansas bled crimson as the sun sank behind the horizon, painting the Smoky Hill River in hues of fire. A storm brewed. In the distance, its thunder, a low growl against the stillness. On a bluff overlooking the river, a lone Cheyenne warrior stood motionless. Red Moon, a dog soldier whose name struck terror from Montana to Texas. His face was a mask of scars, his eyes burning with a hatred older than the plains themselves. In his hand, he clutched a cavalry saber, its blade notched from countless kills, stolen from a dead officer at Sand Creek 4 years prior. Below him, Fort Wallace glowed like a lantern. In the dusk, 200 soldiers, a stockade bristling with cannons, and a secret. Red Moon had come to destroy. 4 summers ago, Sand Creek had shattered the Cheyenne. Colonel John Chivington's massacre left 150 dead. Red Moon's wife, an infant son among them, while he'd been away hunting buffalo with his brothers. He returned to a slaughter. Teepees shredded, bodies mutilated, the snow, a frozen sea of blood. Amid the wreckage, he found a U.S. Army dispatch, dropped in the chaos, hinting at a weapon worse than cannons, a plague brewed in secret, meant to wipe the Plains tribes clean. The Army called it Project Ash, a scheme to poison water and game, disguised as aid. Red Moon swore to burn it to the ground, no matter the cost. Tonight, he'd tracked it here. Scouts whispered of crates hauled into Fort Wallace, under darkness, guarded by men in black coats, not soldiers, but strangers, with cold eyes. Red Moon's band, 60 dog soldiers, lean and lethal, crouched in the tall grass, their war paint gleaming like oil. In the fading light, he raised the saber, its edge catching the last rays, and gave the signal. The night exploded. The Plains' unseen war. The Cheyenne weren't always warriors of the wild. In the 1600s, they farmed Minnesota's riverbanks, their lodges hugging the Missouri, their lives tied to cornfields and clay kilns. Allies like the Arapaho shared their hearths, while the Sioux watched from afar. But by 1680, rival tribes, armed by French traitors, forced them west, a migration that stretched decades. By the 1830s, they'd fused into a single tribe, roaming the plains on horseback, their world remade by buffalo and battle. The dog soldiers emerged as their vanguard. In 1830, the Massascota Band poured into the society, swelling it to hundreds, half the tribe's fighting men. They were more than warriors. They were law, spirit, and fury incarnate. Their rituals summoned thunder. Their hunts fed the people, and their defiance met the U.S. Army's westward march. Gold rushes and railroads carved scars across their land. Treaties crumbled like ash, and Sand Creek turned grief into war. Red Moon, once a quiet hunter, became their avenger, a ghost who'd make the white man pay. The assault on Fort Wallace. The attack hit like a tempest. Red Moon's warriors surged from the grass, a wave of screams and steel. Arrows arced through the night, punching through sentry throats before alarms could sound. The fort's gates splintered under a volley of flaming spears, and the dog soldiers poured in. Red Moon led the charge, his saber slashing a corporal's chest wide open, blood spraying the dirt. Rifles cracked from the walls, felling 3 of his men. But the warriors pressed on, torching barracks and slashing supply tents. Inside the stockade, chaos reigned. Soldiers stumbled from bunks, half-dressed, their shouts drowned by the roar of flames. Red Moon fought his way to the fort's heart, a stone bunker guarded by 10 men in black coats, their faces hidden under wide hats. These weren't cavalry. They moved with precision, firing revolvers with deadly calm. Red Moon's hatchet took one in the skull, his saber, sparks flying, but a bullet grazed his thigh, slowing him. He burst into the bunker, his warriors at his heels, and froze. Crates lined the walls, stamped with a skull, and the words, "Ash handle with care." Beside them stood a man in a gray suit, spectacles glinting, a ledger in hand. Dr. Elias Varn, a name Red Moon had pried from a dying traitor. Months ago, Varn smirked. "To poison water. You're too late, savage. It's already begun." Red Moon's blade hovered at Varn's throat, but a shout from outside stopped him. A war cry, not his own. The bowstring men, a rival Cheyenne society, stormed the fort, their leader Iron Hand at the fore. Betrayal stung, sharper than lead. Iron Hand had sold out, guiding the army's plague. To save his own, the bunker became a battlefield. Red Moon's dog soldiers clashed with Iron Hand's men, steel ringing against steel. Varn slipped away. In the melee, clutching a vial from a crate, Red Moon pursued, cutting down a bowstring warrior, his blood-soaked saber a blur. He cornered Varn at the riverbank, the doctor's hands trembling as he uncorked the vial. Green liquid, shimmering inside. "One drop in the water, and your people rot," Varn hissed. Red Moon lunged, his saber piercing Varn's chest, the vial shattering. On the rocks, a sickly steam rose, burning Red Moon's lungs. But the river stayed clean. Varn gurgled, "More coming," and died. The fort blazed. Behind them, a pyre of wood and flesh. Iron Hand fled with his survivors, the dog soldiers, too battered to chase. 40 soldiers lay dead, 20 strangers in black coats with them. But Red Moon lost 25 warriors, half his band. He torched the crates, their contents hissing into the night, and limped away with what remained, Varn's ledger, in his grip, its pages detailed. Ash shipments. Fort Wallace was just one stop. Fort Laramie was next. In 3 weeks, the race against death. Red Moon rode north, his wound festering, his men gaunt but unbroken. The ledger revealed a conspiracy. Project Ash wasn't war. It was extermination, funded by railroad barons and sanctioned. In Washington's shadows, Varn's team had seeded smallpox, and worse, into blankets and grain, disguised as peace offerings, with Cheyenne traitors, like Iron Hand, greasing the wheels. Sand Creek was the test. The plains would be the grave. Red Moon's fury burned hotter. His family's blood demanded more than revenge. It demanded annihilation. On September 14, 1868, he struck Fort Laramie. 100 dog soldiers bolstered by Sioux allies. Hit at midnight, they scaled the walls, with ropes, silenced guards, with knives, and set the armory ablaze. Red Moon hunted the ash stash, finding it in a locked cellar, barrels of powder and vials, enough to poison rivers. From Dakota to Kansas, he faced Captain Amos Reed, the fort's commander, in a brutal duel. Reed's saber clashed with Red Moon's, sparks flying, until Red Moon drove his blade through Reed's heart. For Sand Creek, he spat as the captain fell. The cellar erupted in flames. The ash consumed, but the cost was steep. 60 warriors dead. The fort's 300 soldiers cut to 150. Red Moon staggered out, blood streaming. A scheme, his vision blurring. His surviving men dragged him to the hills. The fort, a smoldering ruin. Behind them, the ledger named one last target, Fort Benton, Montana, where the final shipment waited. But Red Moon's strength was fading, his breath ragged with fever. The last stand, October 10, 1868, brought a bitter dawn. Red Moon, now a specter of himself, led 30 warriors to Fort Benton. The fort loomed on the Missouri River, its garrison 400 strong, reinforced. After Laramie's fall, the ash was there, crated in a steamboat, ready to sail east. Red Moon's plan was desperate. Sink the boat, burn the plague, die if he must. They attacked at dusk, a suicide charge against cannon fire. Arrows met bullets. Warriors fell like leaves, but Red Moon reached the dock. He hurled a torch onto the steamboat, its deck igniting, and fought through a wall of soldiers to the hold. Barrels of ash burned, their fumes choking the air as he collapsed, his saber buried in a lieutenant's chest. The boat sank, the fort reeled, 200 soldiers dead, all 30 warriors gone. Red Moon's body vanished in the inferno, swept by the river, or claimed by the flames. Rumors swirled. Some said he lived, a ghost, haunting the plains. Others swore his spirit guarded the water, ensuring no poison touched it again. The unseen legacy. Iron Hand fled, died with Fort Benton, its architects exposed in Washington, shamed into silence. The Dog Soldiers' War raged on, peaking at Little Bighorn, but Red Moon's tale became myth. A warrior who defied genocide, burned an empire's secret, and left a question in the ashes. What else had the army hidden? His name echoes still, a howl on the wind, daring the world to forget.